Well, it's official. According to one poll, a majority of Duval County voters are against using public funding to help the Jaguars build this stadium of the future. It's according to results from a new Public Opinion Research Lab survey. Costs to redesign the stadium and surrounding areas could cost $2 billion. Eva Matthews, the research coordinator at the Public Opinion Research Lab, is here with us to give us more perspective. Good morning. Appreciate you joining us.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
You know, I always like to get a feel for how many people were polled for this survey, and do you think that it represents really the diversity of the city?
Yeah. So we polled 511 people for this survey. It's a pretty good, decent sample size. That's what you like to see for a representative sample of the population. We do take a lot of steps to make sure that our samples are very representative of, in this case, Duval County registered voters.
Yeah, and honestly, some of the results are not very surprising because we've heard them before, but let's delve into this. So 51% said the Jaguars should pay for this completely with no public investment. So $2 billion goes to the Jags. 6%, only 6% were willing to split it, with $1 billion coming from taxpayers, and then 33% said they'd be willing to invest a much smaller amount, $250 million to $500 million. So this isn't really good for city leaders who are really trying to get buy-in from residents on why this money should go to the stadium.
Right. And, you know, this is not the first time we've polled on this particular issue with the stadium and other types of public-private partnerships with the city and the Jacksonville Jaguars. And historically, we've seen a pretty strong opposition to spending those public funds. And now this time we did something a little bit different and gave a few options. And asked some follow-up questions, but to us it wasn't super surprising to see 51% opposed.
And I think what that shows you is that people don't really see how having the Jaguars here helps them, helps their community, helps the people who are untouched in this city and could use some funding. And you said even looking historically, when you look at the data, there's really nothing that says that people really do benefit from having an NFL team in their city.
That's right. There are many studies, dozens, I would say, over decades that show that these types of public investments in, sports stadiums, especially that are sort of used for private use, don't have necessarily a tangible economic benefit for the municipality.
So I do think this is interesting because we've heard this when Mayor Deegan is out doing her community conversations, and she's really trying to hit everywhere in our city to trying to get some opinions, but there's nearly a 50-50 split on people who said, hey, let's come up with the money because we don't want to lose the Jags. And she's asked that question and she's kind of like, so what do you want me to do?
Right, and I think that's the fear, and I don't think that's unique to Jacksonville. I think that is a question that's come up in a lot of cities that have NFL teams or other sports teams that have this issue of, whether to invest, and they have this lingering question of, will they leave if we don't? So that's going to be an important thing to consider.
I think the poll is interesting because they did talk about the fact that if this investment does go to serve underserved communities, is an economic investment in our city, they're down for it. But I thought it was interesting. We talk about how hot it is in the stadium. We talk about the construction and how miserable it is for people. But less than 10% said that they're concerned about those two things.
That's right. And I was actually really surprised to see that too. That by far the most popular response to that question was, the most important thing in that deal was the economic benefit to surrounding neighborhoods. So it does seem like people at least, have some hope that this type of project will benefit economically.
That's hard to prove, though.
Right.
And and then you're also saying, give me the money, and then I'll show you what we can do. So this is a challenge, for this administration who says we need to do this if we want to keep the team.
Right. And I think the negotiating team definitely has their work cut out for them. Yeah. And these are the things that'll be going through their heads as they're at the negotiating table.
It's interesting. We have a long road to walk. I just want to point out that the survey did find that 37% of people care more about crime than anything else in this city, and also housing costs and improving transportation, which to me is no surprise because this is the stuff that people deal with on the day-to-day. They're trying to get food on the table, find a nice place to live, and live their lives comfortably.
Absolutely. I think we can all sort of relate to those especially those top three issues. Yeah. And crime is that's no new phenomenon. We've seen crime as the top problem again and again.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you. Thanks for breaking that down for us. So interesting. We'll keep an eye on those surveys as more come out.